Hello, and welcome to Under the Moonlight. Wherever you are right now, whether you're beginning your day, taking a little pause in the middle of it, or listening as the evening settles around you, I'm very glad you're here. Today, I wanted to talk about something that I believe in with my whole heart: kindness. Not kindness as a lovely word to put on a card. I mean the quiet, everyday kind of kindness. The kind that changes the way we speak to someone, that makes us pause before we react, and the kind that can soften a difficult moment, even when it can't make the difficulty disappear. Whenever I'm faced with a situation and I don't know what to do, I try to ask myself one simple question: what would kindness do? And then I try to do that. I don't always get it right. None of us does, do we? Sometimes emotion gets there first. If we're tired, hurt, worried, or frustrated, and then sometimes a kind response only comes clear afterwards, when the moment has passed and we're replaying it in our minds. But I have found that asking myself the question really helps. It gives me somewhere to begin. Because I really do believe that there is almost nothing that can't be made a little bit better by kindness. Kindness can't undo a loss. It can't cure an illness or make every disagreement magically disappear. Because there are some things in life that no kind word can fix. But I think kindness can change the way those things are carried. It can mean that somebody doesn't have to carry their pain alone. It can turn an unbearable day into a day that contained one small moment of warmth. And it can remind a person who feels invisible that someone has seen them. And I think sometimes that matters more than we realise. We tend to imagine that making a difference has to involve doing something enormous, but most people don't need us to transform their lives. Very often, they just need us not to make a difficult moment harder. They need a softer voice, a little patience, someone who listens without immediately telling them what they ought to do, someone who notices that they're quieter than usual and gently asks if they're okay. Kindness very often lives in the small choices. In the extra few seconds we give someone who is struggling to find their words, or in choosing not to embarrass someone when they make a mistake. Kindness could be remembering that the person who seems abrupt may be carrying something we know nothing about. I've worked with young children for many years, and I've found that children teach us so much about this. When a small child is overwhelmed, their feelings don't arrive neatly. They might not have the words to say, "Everything feels too much today," or "I need someone to help me feel safe again." In those moments, I try to look beyond what the child is doing and wonder what they might be feeling. What would kindness do? Well, it would stay calm. It would keep everyone safe and offer the words the child can't yet found. But there may still need to be a boundary. Kindness doesn't mean allowing a child to hurt themselves or somebody else. But that boundary can be held without making the child feel that care has been withdrawn. And really, grown-ups aren't so very different, are we? We become quieter, sharper, more defensive, or more distant when we're hurting. We may long for someone to look beyond the surface and recognize that our behaviour is not the whole of who we are. And that's one of the quiet powers of kindness. It looks for the human being beneath the difficult moment. Of course, kindness is much harder when we feel hurt, overlooked, or misunderstood. In those moments, asking what would kindness do doesn't mean giving in, pretending something didn't hurt, or allowing someone else to keep treating us badly. Sometimes kindness tells the truth. Sometimes kindness says, "That hurt me." And sometimes the kindest thing we can do is to step back, because staying in the moment would only cause more hurt. kindness without boundaries can become self-abandonment. Genuine kindness doesn't ask us to disappear. We are included in it too. And sometimes we can ask, what would kindness do for me? Would it tell me to keep pushing when I'm exhausted, or would it let me rest? Would it make me replay a mistake for the 100th time, or remind me that I'm still learning? Would it call me silly for caring deeply, or recognize that having a tender heart isn't something to be ashamed of? I think kindness would speak gently, not dishonestly. Kindness can be honest about what we need to do better, but it doesn't humiliate us while we learn. Kindness doesn't just belong in the way we treat other people either. It lives in the way we treat animals, in the care we show for nature, and in the choices we make for the environment around us. It may be as simple as being gentle with a frightened animal, moving a tiny creature out of harm's way, taking our rubbish home after a walk, or teaching a child that the smallest living thing still deserves our care. That message is woven through my children's books because I want children to grow up knowing that kindness reaches beyond us. The natural world isn't simply a backdrop to our lives. It's something living and precious that we share, and the way we cared for it says something about who we choose to be. When both of my grandparents passed away, my mum recalls something that happened at both of their funerals that has always stayed with me. So many people told my family about kindnesses that my grandparents had shown them, small acts of generosity and thoughtfulness that we had never even known about. They hadn't helped people so that they would be praised for it. They had simply chosen wherever they could to make a positive difference in someone else's life. Their joint epitaph reads, "Ever generous, ever loving, ever thoughtful, ever kind." And what a beautiful way to be remembered. Not for what they owned, how important they appeared, or how loudly they moved through the world, but for the way their kindness made other people feel. It reminds me that we may never know what happens after one small act of kindness. A kind word may be remembered years later. A child may grow up and offer someone else the patience that they were once shown. A person having a terrible day may just choose to keep going because someone made them feel that they mattered. Kindness travels. It moves from one person to another in ways we don't always get to see. The moment itself may last only seconds, but the feeling can remain for a lifetime. Just think for a moment about the difference that kindness could make. Think of some difficult interactions that you may have had, the conversations that became sharper than they needed to, the misunderstandings that grew because nobody felt heard. If a little more kindness had been added to those moments, would it have made a difference? Perhaps it wouldn't have changed what happened. The disagreement might still have been there, or the boundary might still have been needed, but would it have softened the way it was spoken? Might it have stopped a difficult moment from becoming an even more painful one? I really believe that there's no situation that can't be improved even slightly by the presence of kindness. And we don't have to wait for a grand opportunity to offer it. We can look for little places to sprinkle it as we move through an ordinary day. A warm smile, a thoughtful word, a moment of patience, a quiet decision not to add any more hurt. We may never know how much those small things mattered, but I really think that leaving a little kindness behind us wherever we go is such a lovely way to move through the world. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that you don't know how to improve, maybe you could ask yourself, what would kindness do? Kindness won't always make everything right. But I truly believe with all my heart that there is almost nothing can't make a little bit better. And sometimes a little bit better is where hope begins. Thank you for spending this time with me under the moonlight. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself, of one another, and of the beautiful world we share.